I am so honored for this session, and I'm so excited to get it started. Hi, thank you so much for joining. So a little bit about Tiffany Drake. She is the executive director of the Girls Opportunity Alliance, former First Lady Michelle Obama's program to support global adolescent girls' education around the world. The program's mission is to engage stakeholders globally to take action to support the more than 98 million adolescent girls who are not in school and the grassroots leaders working to educate them. Previously, Tiffany served as a senior advisor to the First Lady in the White House, leading public awareness and engagement for the duration of the Let Girls Learn initiative. Among its accomplishments, Let Girls Learn drove more than $1 billion in new and outgoing girls' education programming in more than 50 countries, and garnered hundreds of millions of dollars in commitments to girls' education from governments, the private sector, and individuals around the world. Tiffany also spearheaded activations including the film We Will Rise, featuring Meryl Streep, which premiered in 180 countries around the world and was the most successful film on the network to date. So Tiffany has done a ton, and I'm so excited and so grateful for her for joining us, and I'm really, really honored to get this conversation started. So first of all, Tiffany, I would love to hear about your story and how you got interested in girls' education.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Jana, for having me. And thank you for having the Girls Opportunity Alliance and for doing this. And I think that just parlays into your question, because I think the whole reason I got started in doing this was because of girls like you, really. I mean, there are so many girls around the world that need our support, but then there's so many girls around the world that we can motivate and spur into action. If there were just more girls like you that are really trying to tell these stories, use your platform for good, and actually speak up and do something and say that you don't have to wait until you're, a grown up to actually take action. So I really appreciate you using this time to spread the word on this cause. It means a lot to us, and that's really why we're here. So thank you. And as far as how I got started in this work, I worked for years in the private sector. So I took my education seriously. I, tried to rise the ranks up through the corporate ladder. I was doing a lot of, I started off in celebrity engagement years ago. So I was doing a lot of things in brand awareness and marketing and public relations and that kind of thing. And really just kept going back to this idea of wanting to use the skills I had attained for the greater good. And after getting my MBA, where I really focused on international affairs, I traveled the world, and I just really wanted to find a way to kind of pivot completely from what I was doing before and use those skills to do something impactful. And so I started doing all these different things, trying to figure out how to do that. And I ended up getting a fellowship into the US government, where I went to work for USAID, which is an international development agency. And while there, we launched Let Girls Learn after the girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram. And it just so happened Mrs. Obama at the same time was thinking about a similar initiative in the White House about 2 years before she ended her term there, and thought, let's add one more thing. And so I went over to work in the White House to help get that off the ground, and ended up staying there the rest of the administration. And really, the whole idea of that is to focus, just like the Malala Fund. I know you spoke with them earlier today. Just like the Malala Fund does, to focus on adolescent girls' education and just really making sure that girls around the world have the same opportunity as boys, and that they're not left behind. And unfortunately, the numbers we used to talk about in the White House, I think we said 66 million girls, adolescent girls were out of school. Now we say more than 98 million. And that's just because data is getting better, but we still have a long way to go. So when Mrs. Obama decided to continue this program as a civilian outside the White House, I jumped at the chance to continue working on this with her, and that's where the Girls Opportunity Alliance was formed.
Thank you. And it's amazing to hear about the work that the Girls Opportunity Alliance is doing. And I would love if you could share with the rest of us, what are some of your favorite initiatives that you are working on?
Yeah, so the Girls Opportunity Alliance, officially, we launched post-White House in October of 2018 on International Day of the Girl. And so we kind of had to launch Let Girls Learn 2.0, but it's a similar issue. And the way that we look at it is that everywhere around the world, the issue, unfortunately, is global, that there are girls from Latin America to Southeast Asia to everywhere in Africa, the Middle East, all out of school for different reasons. So there's not really a one-size-fits-all approach to the solution. And there's systemic issues everywhere, but there's also things we can do to help solve this issue on the ground. So as we were thinking about building this program, we thought, how can we really take advantage of those grassroots leaders in these communities that really know this issue? And so we launched the program with the idea of actually engaging all those leaders. So we don't have all the answers, and we don't claim to, but what we're trying to do is use our megaphone, Mrs. Obama's megaphone, and really try to convene people together, especially those working on the ground in their communities, network them. We have an online network, which we're connecting them to share best practices and help to further their work. And then we launched a fund. We partnered with GoFundMe. So if anyone out there is listening and wants to get involved and donate, we've got programs all over the world on our fund. You can find it at girlsopportunityalliance.org. And learn what each of these organizations is doing on the ground. You've got, Bikes for Girls in Vietnam, and there's girls helping girls that have experienced early teenage pregnancy actually have a chance to go to school in Guatemala. There's dorms in Peru that we're building for girls out in the country that wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to go to a school in an urban center, and everything in between. A lot of the issues are mentoring and helping girls develop life skills to show their confidence and how they can believe they're worth it to have the chance to go to school. So there's all these different things you can do to join us. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, we're really trying to engage girls like you all over the world. So you don't have to live in Africa to get involved in this issue. You can live in the United States, you can live in the Middle East, you can live anywhere. And we really want to try to use this as a way to mobilize young people. So we've got a platform to learn and take action. We want to continue to grow this. So you can do anything from share a presentation in your school to have your birthday celebrate this issue. And really get people to share the stories. We're doing a lot of storytelling. So share the stories, engage with us, tell us what you're doing. And we want to push that out. We want Mrs. Obama to push it out. We want everybody to see how you guys are all taking action in support of young people and really spread the word. So those are some of the things we're doing, and we're continuing to grow the program. And this is a really great way to show that girls like you are stepping up and get others to join you. Because I think taking advantage and getting more people to see that you don't have to be a certain age to step up and do something. You can be 17 and really lead the charge. So that you're a part of our alliance now. So
thank you. And I'm honored to be a part of it. And I think one of the amazing things I've seen all day has been how many youth activists have joined us to speak here, promoting girls' education and talking about their own stories. I know the session 2 before this, I think, was featured Nebraska Kudaida, who has been featured many times on the Lala Fund and is actually was denied an education herself and then went on to become an education activist. So I think the youth voice is super, super important in promoting girls' education and helping move the global community towards gender parity. So could you talk a little bit about a youth role in doing so?
Absolutely. You've seen Malala, right? She goes out and she can use her voice as a young person to get people to pay attention. You see Greta out there doing that on climate change. There's so many youth voices out there right now that can really make a difference in this issue. And we're all out there kind of talking about it, but you guys are the next generation. And I think younger and younger people are starting to understand that movements are created at a young age. And so this is the way forward. And in order to really get this forward, and in order to actually make a dent and get more girls in school, we need everyone. This is the time right now. We need everyone to hold hands and say that we should care about not just the person in front of you, not just the community you're a part of, but care about your fellow girl around the world. And that's tricky because sometimes I think I know when you're a teenager and you've got problems and there's, issues at school and you have a crush on this person, it's tough. It's like, you want me to now focus on these girls I've never met in places I've never been. Why should I focus on that? But I think you hear their stories, you see what they've gone through, and you realize that no matter what issue you're facing, someone else faces an issue similar to yours, could be greater than yours. It's not any less, your issues are not any less important than what other girls face. But just thinking about the fact that you have the chance to go to school, you have the opportunities to make the most of yourself, you have the chance to pursue your dreams, there's outlets you can take. Not everyone has that. And so by speaking up and understanding that and first saying, I'm going to take action and appreciate my own education, and then trying to get people behind you and using any platform you have. You guys are the gurus of the internet, of social media, right? Look what you're doing right now. I've never been on this platform before. So I think, you guys know how this works. You guys are teaching all of us. So be the leaders, be the change makers, and step up and get all your friends together. We can create chapters in schools. I would love to see Girls Opportunity Alliance chapters in schools, right? Like I would love to see this take off and really and really get more people to pay attention to this very specific cause like you are, because that's really the only way forward, and that's the only way change is really going to happen.
Thank you for that. And I think we actually talk a lot about how this is a specific cause, and yet I think the impact of educating just one girl on her community is so huge. And I think it's often misrepresented, but in reality, when you educate one girl, you're educating like a whole slew of people with her. And I think that that's just really incredible. And I'm so honored to be speaking with an organization that is doing so much to help advance that. Could you tell me a little bit about the impact of COVID-19 on girls' education? So I know one of the things that has happened as a result of this pandemic is that so many of us here in the US especially are reflecting on how important of a role schools play in our own lives, right? But at the same time, I do know that 10 million fewer girls will probably be going back to school next fall. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts about how we can change that, and especially why COVID-19 is impacting girls' education in particular.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And those numbers are projected. And that is very unfortunate. And those come from what happened during the Ebola crisis in Liberia and Sierra Leone. And it's just a travesty. There's so many girls out of school now. There's so many students out of school now. But if you think about what we're doing to make sure that everyone gets to go back to school, you have to think about... You have to, sorry, my daughter's coming to join our conversation now.
How old is she?
4. Yeah, this is my everyday here. So this is like this is the future. She's learned a lot.
The next generation. So if she's listening in, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's learned a lot about how working moms handle life during this time. But yeah, so what I was going to say is, what we're trying to do right now is think about how do we get anybody back to school. As a mom, I'm trying to think, because my daughter's already in public school in DC at 4. What do we do in the fall? My son's going to be starting school too. I want to make sure that they have opportunity, even if it's virtual. But some kids will never have that chance again. So the problem is, which I'm sure you've heard from other speakers today, that when girls are out of school, they tend to get right back in that cycle of taking care of their homes, domestic duties, family caretaking, all of those things. And then when it comes time to go back to school, they're already in a cycle. And it's like, well, we can't miss her now. We need her now. Girls are facing violence at home. There's teen pregnancy will go up. Economic hardships are at home when parents are not working, so they cannot afford the school fees now. So we're working really hard with organizations that we support to try to figure out how we can help them. We know that there are things that organizations that we're working with are doing. So for example, here we're all doing Zoom calls, things like that. And other places, they're trying to supply lanterns for girls because at night they may have to wait till they do all their domestic duties and study by lantern at night, and they don't have lanterns. Some of them are getting their school homework and things via text, and they don't have phones. They don't have electricity to plug in those phones. So there's all kinds of different ways by which girls are learning. A lot of them are needing radios because they're getting their school lessons by radio. And so we're trying to now work with girls. And the one thing I just want to keep reiterating is that this issue can't drop to the wayside, even though we are focused on COVID relief efforts now. We have to still think about how we can make sure that we're setting the systems up for success in countries around the world. So we want to make sure that everyone around the world is thinking about this. We're standing together to say, don't leave the girls behind. They're more important than ever. And as you mentioned, and you said very accurately, this isn't an issue just for one girl. You get a girl in school, you get a girl through school, and you give her those skills to do something in the future, and she can really affect her whole family, her community, her country, and that helps all of us. So it's really, really important that we are spreading the word. We're making sure that girls aren't left behind, and we're doing all that we can to ensure that everyone around the world can go back to school. And then we get all the girls who are not in school for the first time as well.
Definitely, yeah. And I think I'm really grateful for the opportunity to host this event in particular to advocate for all those girls, because I think it is an issue that can be left behind now, right? I mean, understandably, we are focused on this public health crisis and a lot of our attention has to go there. And yet I don't think we can forget about girls' education efforts worldwide. And I thank you for advocating and helping me advocate for that as well. So you have led an absolutely incredible career, and I would love if you could share some of your tips and advice to young girls listening in who might be pursuing their educations, but also pursuing careers in public policy and advocacy?
Yeah, I think first of all, as I said before, you can do anything and you can also change. I think it is kind of crazy to think about that you have to make a decision what you want to do for the rest of your life at 17 or 18 years old. That's just not realistic. And so I think just not putting the pressure on yourself to think, I have to decide my entire life right now is first. Think about what you're passionate about, think about what you're interested in. I also think you can make a career out of passions. I don't think you have to do what maybe your family tells you is the way forward. Even when I traveled the world, we were just in Vietnam and this girl wanted to be a graphic designer. And we did a whole story and the YouTube film we just did about this girl and having to convince her parents that that was okay because they thought, fine, if we send you to school, you're going to take this top paying job. You're not going to be a graphic designer because that doesn't make as much money. And that happens all over the world. So I think just think about what you're passionate about. And when it comes to public policy, I also think you don't have to major in public policy. You can be, I majored in journalism. I went to school and got my MBA after that. And the reason was because I was trying to fill in those gaps with things I didn't know. So I think, I knew how to write, I knew how to do marketing, I knew how to do all these things. I didn't know a lot about, finance and economics and things like that. So I tried to think, how can I challenge myself and learn things I don't know? So I think trying to make yourself really well-rounded can only help you in any career that you choose. And I think just pursue your passions, talk to lots of people, network. You're doing this right now. I mean, lots of people can do the same. People reach out to me all the time, and I can't obviously talk to every single person, but reach out, have conversations, and learn more about all the different fields that you're interested in now. Get internships, do stuff for free if you have the ability and the means to. There's just a lot of things you can do to really figure out what you like, and then you might find things along the way that you actually don't like doing, and that's okay too. And then, like I said, once even in a career, I've changed careers, I've changed industries, I pivoted, I've been in many different sectors now, and I think that's okay, and just being open to that and not feeling like once you make a decision, you're just in it for the long haul. But I think that's some of the advice that I have given others and I would give to you.
Thank you. And I know you talked throughout this session a little bit about some specific examples of girls who the Girls Opportunity Alliance have benefited or helped. But I would love if you could tell like one of your favorite stories about like success and what success looks like when it's such a huge organization. And again, such a huge goal that we are trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll just go back to what we did in Vietnam just in December. We went out there to visit some girls, and the thing that the program Room to Read that we were there visiting, supports girls the program we were seeing supports life skills trainings. So some of these, I went to probably 15 different homes of young women who did not have the opportunity to go to school for various reasons, all of which we've pretty much just spoken about. And then this program is giving them the opportunity to do so, but it is not easy. They have to overcome things like literally just explaining to their parents or grandparents why going to school is important. And so they're learning what seems basic, but how to talk to your parents. When it's just there's different hierarchical roles in some communities where you don't have the opportunity to just walk in and tell your dad what you want to do. It just doesn't work. So how can we talk to our parents about this? How can we get mentors and others and community leaders behind us to talk to our parents about going to school? So while we were there, Mrs. Obama was there with us as well. They taught them how to do this via puppet show. So we're sitting around with Mrs. Obama at these school classrooms watching girls interact, and there's the cousin and the aunt and the uncle and the mom and the dad, and they're learning how to communicate via puppets. So it's not really putting them there, they're giving confidence because they're using puppets to interact with one another. So that's an example of that. We were there in October, and I've been telling this story, but we came back in December, and just seeing each individual girl and the confidence they displayed just from a few months, and seeing that we're traveling from all over the world, and you've got the former First Lady of the United States coming this far to sit in front of them in their classroom, gave them so much confidence. Their shoulders were back. They were speaking with much more clarity. They were confident. They were bold. And just seeing what a little bit of investment in a girl will do, and a little bit of confidence putting in them, just literally has them stand differently. That's what we need to do for all girls around the world. So it isn't just about getting a girl through the door. It's about getting her to stay in the school, make something of herself because she believes she can. And there's girl after girl after girl I met while there that I feel like just changed over a few months. So imagine if we continue to provide them with these opportunities for years. That's the real change we can make here.
That's absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing. And I know we were just talking about your two toddlers, and I wondered if you could share a little bit about how you plan on, developing their advocacy and making sure they are advocates for not only girls' education, but anything they are passionate about. And I think that's something a lot of both students and parents who are tuning in can really relate to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people might say I brainwash my children, but no, I mean, I think I'm very honest. I'm very open. I don't sugarcoat things. Obviously, you talk to them about what is age appropriate. But I'm also very, very open and honest about the issues that girls face, the issues that my daughter's fellow classmates face. Even when we've been out of school, we do these Zoom calls with her class, and most of the students aren't coming onto the calls right now. And there's reasons behind all of that, right? And so I'm trying to explain why it's so important that we support our fellow peers. It doesn't even have to be girls in this case, right? And so I think it's just extremely important to, first of all, be open and honest, give them exposure to things that they, even if you think they're too young. I don't think my 4-year-old is too young to be exposed to the things that I'm exposing her to. They'll understand some of it. One day I brought my daughter to my office, and she pulled in the parking lot with me, and she said, "So are these all the cars of the girls that you help go to school?" So the understanding is getting there, right?
That's so cute.
Yeah, but I mean, also I think just empowering them to believe they can do anything. I mean, that should go without being said, but my daughter's 4 years old, and she wants to be a doctor, a mommy. And then every day it switches. Today was like construction worker, I think, because she was reading a book on that. So it's just empowering them that they can do anything they want to do and be anything they want to be. But it's also just, for example, what I was just talking about, when we have to do these school things, I'm trying to do schoolwork with her and explaining that not every kid has this opportunity to go to school, right? So take advantage of it, appreciate it. That can start at a very young age. And then I think just putting them around really important mentors that can help. I can be a mentor, but I'm mom, right? So how can I expose them to other girls, to other, this YouTube film we just did, no one's too young to see that, I don't think. You can have exposure to things at a very young age. And maybe my daughter won't get passionate about girls in school, but she'll be, my husband works in climate change, so maybe that will be the way she goes. So I think it's just making sure that they have exposure to a number of different things, and it doesn't have to be what your passions are. That's what I would say. And then just taking advantage of as much as you can and exposing them to as much as you can. And we have some tools on our website right now to help people do that. And then sharing what you're doing. So I really appreciate you sharing how you're taking advantage of your birthday, but we want to hear from people. I want to hear what girls like you are doing. And we want to be able to share that out to inspire others to create a movement as well, no matter what your age is.
Thank you. And I think we've been talking throughout the day about kind of the idea of sisters in solidarity, that yes, so I here joining for this birthday celebration, I'm just one story and I'm just one girl who's using her platform. But I think, how do we build a network globally of similar like-minded girls who are really pushing not only for girls' education, but other issues as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking about this every day, and we don't have the solution yet. There are lots of organizations. So I think one of the things we're trying to do at the Girls Opportunity Alliance is be a convener of a lot of these groups. Mrs. Obama didn't want to launch this program to replace any other program that's out there. It was to lift up all these organizations that are out there. So of course that includes Malala Fund and Plan International and all these organizations, but it also includes Girl Up and Girls Inc. and She's the First and Girl Scouts, right? So there's a lot of organizations that are trying to motivate young people to do something. And so what we're trying to do is partner with those organizations and help girls' education be a part of what they're doing. So in the White House, for example, if you took a certain action on girls' education as a Girl Scout, you got a badge, a Let Girls Learn badge, right? So there's like things like that we're working toward to try to put people together. We have a listserv right now of like 18,000 young people that we're sending information out how you can do this or that and take advantage of the opportunities we're providing to do something, but also trying to get that feedback. We want more of that. Like as I said, tell us what you're doing. And our goal with this program is to help try to put all these individuals like yourself together into a big network, exactly what you said, and create young girl ambassadors like you that are standing up for certain causes that you're an ambassador for this cause. Like you said, there could be ambassadors for other causes, but these things also overlap, right? Climate change plays a role in girls' education. Global public health plays a role in education. There's all kinds of overlapping issues here that it's not like you can just take a stand for one thing and call it a day. There's so many overlapping things where people can learn from one another. So I think that's our vision for the future, is trying to take a lead role and pulling all kinds of people together like you, like we're doing with the grassroots leaders in our other network. But I think as we try to expand upon that work, we're going to be reaching out to girls like you and to others who are already out there that are saying, hey, I want to do something. Tell me what I can do. And trying to make sure that we're pulling you in to try to figure out some more solutions, because that is absolutely the way forward, is making sure that you guys can learn from one another and scale your work.
That's wonderful. And my next question actually connects to this, and I think that's kind of the last question we have time for. But what do you see for the future of both Girls Opportunity Alliance and maybe your personal future as well, advocating for girls' education and other issues globally?
We're continuing to work with Mrs. Obama to grow the Girls Opportunity Alliance. There are so many things we want to do with this program in order to continue to solve this. So I think we've just barely dipped our toe into what we can do. As I said, we want to pull together all the organizations doing this work, partner with them to continue to scale this. We can't do this by ourselves. We want corporations to get involved, right? We want every single sector to stand up and say that we not only have to change each issue on the ground, but we have to change this at a systemic level in order to really make change here. And we want to change hearts and minds. As much as that sounds cliche, it's true. You can't fix this issue if culturally it's a taboo subject to talk about girls in school. So we're continuing to work with organizations that are trying to change the culture of places around the world, trying to move the needle on that issue. And one thing we don't do is we don't count the number down. We don't say, oh, well, today it's 90 million girls out of school. So we say, it's not a number you can count. And so for us, it's more about really trying to get to the root cause of this issue. How can we get more people involved? And how can we see that more and more places are opening up to the idea of getting girls in school, respecting the right for women's equality around the world? And then seeing boys step up as well. Young men get involved, starting to really chip away at those long-standing beliefs that girls, aren't worth it. And having everyone believe that, a girl's future is just as worthy as a boy's. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we're trying to just get a lot of people involved in this cause and really mobilize a movement. So this is the start for us. We did this in the White House, but we had to start 2.0. So we're really at the beginning stages here. And so opportunities like this to tell what we're doing and get more people involved are really wonderful. So we thank you for the chance to get the word out and for helping us to talk about this and to tell the stories of these young girls and why people everywhere should get involved and help this cause.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure everyone listening in is super, super excited to continue to engage with the Girls Opportunity Alliance going forward, and stay tuned for all the different initiatives you have planned. I definitely think it's absolutely amazing how you are lifting up other organizations and young activists like myself. And I thank you for that especially. So again, thank you so much for joining me, Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Jana. I look forward to seeing more of what you do and working with you in the future. We're coming back to you.
Yes, look forward to it.
Okay, bye. Thank you.